over time, I've run a lot of different RPG campaigns, various different systems, D&D, L5R, Blades in the Dark, Monster of the Week. I did a one-shot of Fabula Ultima. There's been others in there. I've run a lot. I have, I would say, I mean, I don't think it's boasting to say a considerable amount of experience with running games. I started when I was 18, basically as soon as I was introduced to D&D. And it occurs to me that that's not a frame of reference for most of you, because you don't know how old I am. It's a long time ago. Long time ago. This is back in 3rd edition. It's like, I think shortly after 3.5 came out. I could be wrong about that. Anyways, so I've been running a lot of games. And I've run a lot of terrible games. It has been my experience that everyone starts out as a bad GM, and I was far from an exception. Honestly, I would not be able to tolerate the kinds of games that I ran when I first started. I get embarrassed thinking back on it. But I didn't know any better. And I think a lot of people are kind of in the same boat. And so I've picked up a lot of hard-won wisdom in that time. Things that I have found that work, things that I have found that do not work. Practices that I started, practices that I have stopped. And so I wanted to share one little observation that I've made. The session 0. As time goes on, I am more and more convinced that the session 0 is very important if you want to run a long-term, serious campaign. It is important to get everyone together, to make the party as a group. This is why I try to encourage people not to make characters ahead of time for my campaigns. It is much better if we do it together. Now, it's good if you come to the table with an idea of what you want to play, but you should not have anything set in stone. You should make the character with the rest of the party to make sure that you're going to gel with them, that you understand the nature of the campaign. And, you know, these things I might shoot out ahead of time. Like, hey, I want to run a campaign. It's about this. It's about this. I've got these people in it. I might even, you know, like this guy wants to play this kind of class. Like, okay, well, I can play off of all that. That's fine. But the session 0 is important for more than just party cohesion. It's important for player group cohesion. In the session 0, you can sort of get in, sort of like put down on paper officially at the start, concerns that you may have. Like, I'm just going to describe a session 0 here for you a minute. You put down expectations, what the campaign's going to be about, what the tone of the campaign is going to be. You can, you know, you can pull the players for like content that they are uncomfortable with. I tend to assume, because I play with people that I know. I don't play with strangers on the internet. I actually have not played online, I think ever. I only play with people that I know and who know me. And so I've never had an issue with like content, like offensive content, like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable. And I think I have done a fairly decent job of avoiding, for the most part, content that makes my players uncomfortable. But if you are playing with people that you are less familiar with, that becomes important. And it's still, like, sort of just as a baseline, a good idea to get that out of the way, you know, to make sure that you just have that down. But then, like, there's the tonal expectations of the campaign. Like, I'm going to create a very different kind of character depending on what kind of campaign it's going to be. Is it going to be this sort of like site-to-site, you know, raucous adventure? Is it going to be this whimsical journey through, you know, a fairyland? You know, is it going to be a dark and gritty dungeon delve? These are all different types of characters that fit to these different kinds of campaigns. So it's important to get that out there too. And I want to say I've spoken before on a good way to make a party and have it be like really cohesive is to have like an official leader, to have the campaign sort of focused on and oriented around one character and everyone sort of builds around that. Now, this is not going to work for every campaign, obviously, particularly if you're running a module. You can't make the module about your character, really. But if the DM is making up the campaign as you go, having it be about one of the player characters as a main character with maybe vignettes or side missions about the others is a really, really evocative way to make sure that the party stays together, they stay cohesive, they act as a group. You know, that can work. And it's not going to work for every party. I'm not saying that this is a general approach. I'm saying, like, that's something you can do during a session 0 to ensure that the campaign has a direction. Because it's not just about party cohesion, it's also about direction. Sometimes D&D campaigns can feel a little directionless. You know, if there's no overarching plot, or if you lose sight of the overarching plot, having it be about one character means that that plot is always in focus, because that player of that character knows what they're supposed to be doing, knows what they're wanting to do, at least what what they're supposed to be aspiring towards, even if they don't necessarily know the right path to get there yet. So anyways, that's a little aside. You should have an idea for the party identity during the session 0. To really get a feel for, well, not even get a feel, because you're going to get a feel for it during play, but you should have like a stated goal of like, what is this party about? What do we do? And what I do is I cough. So this can all be established during the session 0. And if you can skip the session 0, but I think you lose a lot of, I'm not sure how to describe this. I think you lose a lot of the, it's not like deniability, but it is sort of like you're not taking responsibility for the outcome of the campaign. You're just kind of, and, you know, obviously, like, if the campaign's not going to be, you know, real serious, not going to be long running, like, whatever. Like, is it worth doing a session 0? Maybe not. But I think the longer your campaign is supposed to go, and the more investment you want from the players, the more important a session 0 is, until it becomes pretty much mandatory. I did a session 0 for my L5R campaign, which is still going. I did a session 0 for, actually, did I do it for any of my, I don't think I did it for any of my 4th edition campaigns, because I didn't start doing it back then. That was quite a while ago. But I did it for my, my Genesis campaigns. I did a couple of Genesis campaigns in the Android universe. These are important things, and important things can happen during these sessions. And I would encourage DMs who are thinking about starting a campaign, really do that session 0 and talk earnestly with your players about what you intend for the campaign to be, and ask them, like, proactively ask them what they want the campaign to be like. You know, what is the tone that they have in mind? What sorts of things do they want to see happen? You know, what genre are they interested in? Because you may find, I mean, like, worst case scenario, you may find that your expectations and theirs are not aligned. And maybe they're not interested in the kind of campaign that you're wanting to run. And it's super important to get that figured out as soon as possible, because, you know, they can say, you know, either change their expectations and go along with it, or say, this isn't the campaign for me, I'll step out. And it's far less disruptive than leaving during the campaign. So anyways, I think session 0s are very important. They're incredibly valuable, even more so if you intend for your campaign to be this sort of like long running, like the less casual the campaign is, the more important the session 0 is. So I would encourage you, and you know what, if you've never done a session 0 before, I encourage you to try it, even in a campaign that maybe doesn't need it, just to get it, just to get some practice and get that under your belt. All right? That's it.